that. But the question is, we began the program talking about extremism and the alleged potential for damaging our democracy, in inverted commas. Ben, there's a bit more going on, perhaps.
There's a lot more going on, isn't there? Yeah, I think one of the most important words is innovation, the introduction of new things. Everyone's talking about innovation. So John Bell was talking about innovation in pharmaceuticals. We're seeing it in technology. We're seeing it in ideologies. And one of the best examples I've come across recently is the open source diia platform from Ukraine. So diia, I think I'm saying that correctly, is a digital government platform. It was launched in 2020. It allows Ukrainian citizens to access state services. So things like driving license, passport have all been digitized. But it is also integrated into the war effort as well. So you can report enemy movements, you can report damage to buildings, and this is all no doubt linked into the AI systems being run by Palantir on behalf of the Ukrainian government, and they've now open sourced it. So Mykhailo Fedorov, the Minister of Digital Transformation, made this statement. From now on, diia is an open source product. Governments interested in Ukrainian digital transformation experience are more than welcome to study, improve and implement diia's code. Big step for our team in Ukrainian tech community. IT professionals will be able to create something similar to diia or with the same core logic as diia. He then went on to say, open source is one of the world's top practices. For example, European COVID-19 certificates, European Digital Identity Wallet, Linux, Android, MySQL companies also work as open source products. I hope the Ukrainian digital experience will help other governments to build their own states in a smartphone. diia opens for the world. Right, so they've basically taken this code base that they developed, and he's right, open source is a good way of approaching things. A lot of the leaders in technology take this approach, but the question is, where is this code coming from and what is it supposed to do? So this is the Ukrainian government in a smartphone, right? And they've made this available to all international governments. If you plan to digitize your government, you're in the process of implementing your vision of digital transformation, and you are in search of a great GovTech solution, then this might be the one, right? So they are offering this as a service to governments and to IT professionals. They give them a library of assets, the core code base to use and adapt and to change. That includes the front end, so the actual application experience that you have as a citizen, as a user, which if you bring the slide up, you can see there on the left-hand side, so that's what the driving license looks like. But then also, really importantly, the back end, the core logic and how data moves into and around the system. And if you think about code, a really good way of thinking about code is that it is law, right? So technology defines the fundamental processes that underpin our core societal systems in government and elsewhere. And what the Ukrainians, who sit right at the center of global plans to build back better after the pandemic, with all that money from people like BlackRock flowing around, all of the interests from global governments, they're looking to take their code, their law, make it available and have that distributed as an innovation more broadly across different countries, right? So you can think of this as a Trojan horse, the way that I see it, right? So you've got Mykhailo Fedorov. Look at me, I made a meme, Mum. Check me out. I'm on the internet doing bits. Look, he's brought his gift, the open source diia, to the nation states, but inside is the NWO. That's absolutely what that is. It's how I see it. So that's one example. Let's have another look at a different example, this time here in the UK, focused on social housing, remote monitoring, and the whole net zero agenda.
We're really delighted to have been selected to be on the Diatomic project. It's given us an opportunity to move into a slightly new direction and develop our product for social housing in Birmingham. We're both from Birmingham and it's a Birmingham-based company, so we're really excited about doing that. The Osmium system allows managers and engineers in a wide variety of companies to remotely monitor and control their equipment without having to be physically present. I approached my co-founder Ulf in 2018. We'd taken on a fleet of wind turbines which needed a remote monitoring system, and we created the monitoring and control system that we needed and called it Osmium. We decided to take that out into wider industrial settings, monitoring and controlling automated equipment, One of the main benefits of having the capability to monitor energy in real time is cost. Because as we all know, energy prices went sky high, so everyone has become more conscious about their energy use. Birmingham City Council has identified some flats and some houses in East Birmingham where residents have kindly agreed to let us come in and evaluate the effectiveness of retrofit measures that the council are taking. And we will be monitoring the usage before, during and after the retrofit to see how effective it's been.
The user interface that we have designed has two parts. One is showing the live data, and the other part is showing historic data in forms of charts or tables, and you can choose, do you want to see what happened today or last week or last month, last year. You can see if you have used energy in the wrong way at the wrong time.
So when we deploy Osmium for energy monitoring, it's usually in the context of a consumer unit like this. We simply insert for each circuit a pulse meter, a contactor and the Osmium device which communicates with the internet so that engineers and managers can keep track of energy use and control circuit by circuit when that circuit's on.
There's a remote monitoring device, and we talked last week about the Connected Places Catapult and the global digital control grid for cities. Well, here you can see it playing out in real time. This is being built currently in the West Midlands under the auspices of the West Midlands Combined Authority, whose Mayor Andy Street we spoke about on the show last week. You've also got Birmingham City Council in there, the Connected Places Catapult that I talked about last week. It's all about social housing, connecting it up to a digital monitoring system. And you can see how that would play directly into, for example, the NHS Virtual Ward Initiative that we spoke about again last week, right? So this is the control infrastructure for this system that they're building. And it's being pushed out through these innovation accelerators. They're all around the country. There's a big push towards this. Plexal, the UK Innovation Lab based at the Olympic Park, have been talking about this week. They're actually very excited because Plexal CEO Andrew Ruffin, we can flick on, there's a little statement here. He's going to be on stage next Wednesday on the 20th at the Connected Places Catapult Connected Places Summit. So he's going to be talking about the importance of innovation clusters, and he'd know quite a lot about that, given that he runs a innovation lab for the UK government. He's a really interesting character, actually, Ruffin. And I'm talking about innovation, and we've talked about diia and digitised state and these new digital monitoring systems that are being rolled out. But that's being enabled by innovation in ideology, actually. So Andrew Ruffin came onto my radar last year as the chairman of My Life, My Say, which is the UK youth charity currently indoctrinating the nation's young people into extreme left-wing political ideologies. Is directly connected to, amongst other organisations, the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, obviously, NCS, which is chaired by David Cameron, Sadiq Khan's office as the Mayor of London, but also the Rothschild family, two branches. So they've got R&Co 4 Generations, which is the de Rothschild family based out of Paris, and then also Tortoise Media, who we spoke about earlier, who are directly linked to the UK-based Rothschild family, as well as the US State Department, and via Plexal, where Andrew Ruffin, as we've just spoken about, is the chief executive, into a number of government departments, including the Secret Intelligence Service, MI6. So these are the people, these are the organisations, these are the vested interests coordinating and pushing this whole agenda forward. I just want to reference how I think they're going to do this. We talked a lot about democracy and the rule of law and all that kind of thing, extremism earlier on today. Well, MLMS, I believe, is working night and day to derail our democratic process. They ran this event in 2021 called the Common Futures Forum. Note the language, common futures, common purpose, all this stuff ties together. They've been working with people such as Shola, Dr. Shola. I'm not going to pretend that I can pronounce her surname. You may be well aware of her. She's a Nigerian, British media mouthpiece, in my view, a racist hate preacher, ultimately. I mean, she's an absolute firebrand of a left-wing commentator And she was joined on that panel by Al Sharpton, who is essentially the same thing, but from a couple of generations earlier on from the US. I'm sure you'll all be familiar with Al Sharpton. And he's actually been in the country over the past couple of weeks, hanging out with Lord Woolley, who is, amongst other things, the principal of Homerton College, Cambridge. And I think that Ruffin, MLMS, Plexal, Connected Places, Catapult are all conspiring to do some radical and extreme and transformational things to the country.